everyone, Melanie Neale here with Sunshine Cruising Yachts. I'm working on a short series of videos to help you all as buyers or sellers of boats to navigate the process. The process of buying a boat, selling a boat is relatively complicated, and there is a lot of misinformation out there. Every time I go on social media or I'm reading one of the Facebook threads about, somebody looking for a boat and hearing 10 different things from 10 different brokers, it amazes me how much easier it would be if we were able to educate the general public, the buyer and seller, about how this process works and save you money, save you time, save you grief, save you energy. There are some things that you can do when you start out that will make it just an easier go of it for you. This book, Boat Buying Basics, just came out a little bit less than a year ago, published by Sheridan House. But in it, I've taken what I've learned in the last 10 years as a yacht broker and last 40 something years of being on boats and living on boats and all that good stuff, driving lots of boats, pretty much living and breathing the marine industry. So I wanted to share that information with you. Now, the very first thing that I always ask somebody if they call me and say, "Hey, I'm thinking about buying a boat," I have a series of questions that I walk through with them, and I want you to think about these questions. You don't even have to write them down because I've got a checklist in the book, and I will email you this checklist for free. If you just send me an email or send me a text after you watch this, I'll share my contact information. But I have a series of checklists in here that I think really simplify the process and will help you. But I ask people where they want to go. Now, this is really important because you may have aspirations of circumnavigating. And if that's what you want to do, then I hope that you do it. But you may need a few years of sailing around the Chesapeake Bay or sailing around the coast of Florida or the Bahamas before you take off. And the boat that you need right now might not necessarily be the boat that you want in 5 years when you're taking off to circumnavigate. You may want something that's a lot more complicated. So, where do I want to go right now? What do I want to do right now? Because if you spend a lot of money on a boat and then you let it sit, or you just spend all your time working on it and outfitting it, 3 years might go by and you might realize it's the wrong boat. And even though the process of selling and buying a boat can be expensive and time consuming, we really don't want you to have to, go through that more than you need to. But we want you to get out there and start enjoying this as soon as possible. Boating is supposed to be fun. There's a lot of fixing things, there is a lot of work, but at the end of the day, you're doing this because it's fun. So, where do I want to go? Do I want to do overnight passages on this boat? Do I just want to go anchor and play? Do I want to have a platform where I'm doing water sports, where I'm scuba diving or windsurfing or kiteboarding or whatever? Do I need lots of storage on deck for my stuff? What activities do I want to enjoy? So, one of the biggest mistakes that people make when they buy a boat for long term use, especially if they're planning on bringing their families aboard, is that they kind of forget about the things that they like to do at home. For example, if you love to cook at home, if you're a gourmet chef or even whatever, you just like to cook and you buy a boat that doesn't have a good galley, you're not going to enjoy that. Um, if you are a movie buff and you buy a boat that, simple things, you add a TV, right? You can add all of these things, but knowing what you want in the very beginning and what you're going to do with that boat. Are you going to race? Now, if you're racing, you need an entirely different boat than you would want to circumnavigate or do, serious long-term cruising. So, where will you store the boat? This is a very common thing that people don't think of at all. And especially, I'm based out of Florida, but everywhere there tends to be a shortage of affordable dock space. Even finding dock space that isn't necessarily affordable, it's something that people don't work into the equation. So Do I have a marina lined up? Am I at a waiting list on one of these marinas? There are a lot of wonderful marinas, like Brunswick Landing Marina, that are great, but you need to start thinking ahead and get on that waiting list so that when you find the boat, you have a place. Do you have a dock at your house? Do you know somebody with a dock at their house that you could, throw a few bucks their way and keep your boat there? So think about where you're going to keep it. What kind of weather are you sailing in? If you are storing the boat for the winter and putting it, covered up in a shed or whatever, you want something that's easy to rig and unrig. If you're going to be in, consistently in an area where there's calm and not a lot of wind, but you really want to sail, consider getting something lightweight and, just lighter in general with a fin keel and a Beneteau or, something along those lines. Um, Another thing that people don't tend to think about all the time, and this is an uncomfortable subject, but what are my physical limitations and my physical capabilities? I really, this one's hit hard being in my mid 40s, but I can't fit into the spaces that I used to, and I can't do the things that I used to do. I want to, and I try very, very hard, but my partner and I were just working on a project where we had to get into the anchor locker in order to take out an old windlass and install a new one. And neither of us are small people, and we couldn't fit in the space to do this. So we actually had to coax and bribe my 15-year-old daughter with Taco Bell and all kinds of other things to go into the anchor locker and help us with that. But do think about your physical limitations when you're shopping for a boat. If you have a hard time, with ladders, or you're having, hip or lower back issues or anything like that, you may want to consider a boat with a sugar scoop stern. This works for pets too. I worked with a lot of people that have, say, older dogs that are too large to lift on and off the boat. So in that case, you really want that sugar scoop stern, or, want a boat that they can get on and off of easily. So, um, and these can be things for comfort, or these can be serious safety things. Um, and what do you like aesthetically? This one is really important, and not a whole lot of people think about this either. They think about, how much space does this boat have? What are its sailing capabilities? I want to ask you, when you walk down the dock on the weekend or when you're getting ready to go sailing, what do you feel in your heart when you see that boat? Do you feel a little flutter? Do you, we always laugh about, when you find the one, and after years of doing this, I can watch somebody walk down a dock and usually tell within about 5 seconds whether this is the boat for them or not. Now, of course, I don't say anything about that. I let them come to that decision, on their own. But every time I've bought a boat, I've known it. And, your aesthetic may be, round portholes. It may be, a more sleek racing design. I love old wooden boats. That's I've never owned one, but my heart flutters a little bit when I see a wooden schooner. Or anyway, you're you have to enjoy this boat. You have to. It's going to be yours. You're going to put a lot of time and money into it. So think about what makes you happy when you walk down the dock. Walk down lots of docks, go to boat shows, do as much as you can to surround yourself by boats so that you sort of start getting a feeling of what you like. Because if you don't like your boat, if you don't think your boat is pretty, I don't want you buying it. You need to have something that you're happy with. Um, and of course, budget. A lot of brokers, a lot of people, this is the very first thing that they think about. I want this to be the thing that you think about last, because there is, sounds like a cliche, but there's a boat for every budget. And if you have these other things in mind, if you like a very heavy displacement, offshore cruising sailboat, but you think you don't have the budget for it, you may just have to look a little bit older. Look at one of the, if your budget is $70,000, but you want to do a lot of offshore stuff, you see this as a long-term boat, you might be looking at boats that are 30 or 40 years old, and there's a whole other set of issues that come with that. Insurance, financing. Don't let anybody tell you that you can't insure or finance an older boat, because there are ways to do it and there are people that can make it happen. Don't be scared of older boats. Or if your budget allows, we all have our boats we would buy if we won the lottery, but think about your budget, but let that be the last thing that you think about. And once you've kind of gone through these questions, it's probably time to call a broker. If you are calling a broker right away, they should ask you these questions. Again, I can send you this checklist. What's my boating style? If you just reach out to me, and stay tuned for more fun.